One group that everyone wanted to hear from at the Cattle Industry Convention is the folks at CattleFax, and their 2015 Outlook session was one of the biggest draws in San Antonio. Here with more on what we can expect for 2015 is Kevin Good, Senior Analyst at CattleFax. Kevin, thanks for taking a couple minutes to come to the show with us.
It's good to be with you today, Kevin.
You know, weather has been such a key driver the last couple of years. What did Dr. Art Douglas say about what we can expect in 2015?
Well, he was rather optimistic looking from a long-term perspective. If we look back, we've been in a drought cycle here in the United States for the last really 15 to 18 years, and he's more optimistic that what we started to see last year, started to see the drought loosen up, especially in the central southern plains. Yes, we're still dry in the west coast, but it's starting to get some moisture there at least. He would suggest as we go on into 2015 through this year on into 16 and 17, the weather patterns are starting to change. We'll have a more normal amount of precip. Yes, we'll still have some dry pockets in the west this year, but they'll get some relief, and generally speaking, he's pretty optimistic from a long-term perspective.
Let's talk feed markets for a minute. What a difference 12 months have made.
Oh, absolutely. As you think about corn production in the last 2 years, we've back-to-back 14 billion bushel crops. We've got a stocks-to-use ratio that's rather high here in the United States. Globally, you've got a high stocks-to-use ratio for corn, beans, and wheat, so you've got quite a bit of product around the globe. With that being the case, the prospects for a good planting season as we come up, we've got plenty of moisture in the corn belt. We would envision that corn could average, we've got it pegged at 360 for this marketing year based off the futures, spot futures. That compares to 415 last year, so we've got some input relief as we think about cattle production.
You know, we've talked a lot about international markets and $300+ of value coming from the export market. I wanted to ask you specifically about the international financial situation, strength of the dollar. What's that going to mean in terms of beef exports in the coming year?
You know, as we look at it, the dollar has strength, and if we looked at year over year, it's 10% stronger than it was a year ago at the same time frame compared to the other currencies that we trade with. So that is a concern. You know, as we think about the strength of the dollar, we would assume that it's going to stay pretty strong. And here you should think from a global standpoint, we are kind of the only game in town here short term as we think about the currency and stable economy. And another thing that's taking place right now is we're having some trouble on the west coast in the ports because there's a labor dispute there between the unions. And with that being the case, there's been a slowdown of shipments of product. So we've got kind of a backlog of beef and more so pork. And so that's really playing havoc here on the front end as far as excess supplies. You know, production levels for pork and poultry are well above a year ago. We depend very heavily on exports to clear that product. If we don't, we're going to have more of that on the domestic market. Even though beef supplies remain tight, that total supply is actually bigger than a year ago now.
So wrap all these fundamentals and give us your sense of what beef producers should expect from a cattle market outlook in the coming year.
Yeah, as we think about it, 2014 is one for the record books. Record profits, especially for the cow-calf producer and stocker and the feed yard side. So we've had a good go. Now, with that good go and better moisture conditions, we are expanding the herd. You know, the first of 2015, beef cow numbers were up 600,000 head, dairy cow numbers up 100,000 head. So as you turn the clock forward here, you can see that we're going to have a bigger calf crop this year. We'll have bigger beef supplies by 2016. So we're turning the corner from the bullish standpoint looking at beef production. We've already turned the corner as far as the bullish news for total meat production. That tightest point was last year because we got more pork and poultry in front of us. You combine that with some of the, you think about the down that we've had in oil. We've lost open interest in the futures contract. Some of those things would suggest that we've seen our absolute high in cattle values into 2014. Yes, prices are going to stay strong this year, but they probably won't be quite as good as what we experienced last year.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your perspective and for summarizing what was a really, really good session.
Thank you, Kevin.
For more expert analysis on the beef industry, visit CattleFax.com.